In this crazy, fast-paced digital world, it is so easy to miss the warning signs. So today, we're going to go beyond the usual advice. We're going to uncover what experts are actually seeing in real-world cases, those really subtle signals that our kids are in distress. Let's dive in and see what we might be overlooking. So here's the big paradox, right? So many of us are giving our kids more opportunities, more tech, and more stuff than any generation in history. And yet, we're seeing this massive crisis in their mental and emotional health. What is going on? What are we missing here? Okay, let's start with the most obvious culprit, that glowing screen that's practically glued to our kids' hands. But as you're about to see, what a lot of people just brush off as a bad habit, well, experts are describing it in much, much more alarming terms. Yeah, you heard that right. Experts are not mincing words. They're framing this in the starkest way possible. Screen time isn't just a distraction. For a developing brain, it literally functions like an addictive drug. These apps, these games, they are designed to hook our kids, and the consequences can be absolutely devastating. And the science behind this addiction, it's actually shockingly simple. Every single swipe, every little notification, every reward in a game, bam, it releases a tiny hit of dopamine. It's this short-term pleasure that creates a long-term craving, trapping a kid's brain in a loop that it just can't easily break on its own. Then we're not just talking about bad habits. The damage here can be specific, and in some cases, permanent. We're talking about the actual death of brain cells. And get this, the frontal lobe, the part of the brain that handles self-control and good judgment, it isn't fully developed until you're about 25. Giving a kid unlimited screen access during those years, well, it's like throwing a wrench into the brain's most important construction site. And look, this is not just some theory. This is a direct quote from a psychologist talking about a real case. The addiction can get so severe that the withdrawal, the simple act of taking away the phone, the drug, can trigger extreme, unbelievably violent behavior. This is the terrifying reality of what's at stake. But here's the thing. As damaging as screen addiction is, it's often just a symptom. It's a kid's way of trying to escape a deeper, more invisible kind of pain. So now let's talk about the wounds that we can't see. Just think about the difference for a second. We can all recognize a physical wound, right? A scraped knee, a broken arm. We know how to treat it. But emotional wounds, the kind inflicted by harsh words, by constant comparison, or just by neglect, they're invisible. They don't bleed. But they can fester for a lifetime and become these permanent scars on a person's soul. And it is so crucial to understand that this kind of damage isn't always about shouting and yelling. It can be incredibly subtle. Constantly asking, why can't you be more like your brother? Or, and this one is huge, simply being in this same room, but totally lost in your own phone. Experts have a name for that, emotional abandonment. And its effects are just profound. To see how this all builds up, let's look at a tragic real-world case from Thailand, a young man known publicly as Ice Hiblek. He grew up in a wealthy family, but he was completely emotionally abandoned, so his home wasn't a safe space. Then, at school, he was brutally bullied. You can see on this timeline how that foundation of neglect and trauma led directly to a tragic adulthood filled with violence. So, if these wounds are invisible, how in the world are we supposed to know our child is hurting? Well, the good news is they send signals. They send out an SOS. We just have to learn how to read it. Now, this checklist from child experts isn't about blame, okay? It's a really powerful tool for self-reflection. Just take a second and honestly ask yourself, do you really know who your kids' friends are online? Do you find yourself dismissing sudden moodiness as, oh, it's just a phase? And when you punish, is it about teaching a lesson or is it about releasing your own frustration? These are the blind spots where danger so often hides. Kids tend to send out these SOS signals in two main ways. Some of them internalize their pain. They turn inward. They get quiet, withdrawn, anxious. And then others, they externalize it. They lash out. They become aggressive, defiant, and they escape even deeper into their screens. It's so important to remember. Both are desperate cries for help. Okay, so we've looked at the dangers, we've looked at the warning signs, and I know it can feel overwhelming, but the antidote, the vaccine against so much of this pain, is incredibly powerful, and it's something every single parent can build. Psychologists call it secure attachment. But let's put it simply. It's about making your child feel, deep in their bones, that you are their safe harbor in any storm. That feeling, the belief that they are unconditionally loved and safe with you, is the single greatest predictor of their future happiness and resilience. It's everything. So how do we build that? Well, here is a simple, honestly game-changing tool. It's called the I message. The key is to stop starting sentences with an accusing you, which immediately puts your kid on the defensive. Instead, you start with how you feel. That simple shift opens the door for connection instead of conflict. Just look at this example. Why are you always so irresponsible? That's an attack. It builds a wall. But I feel worried when I see your grades because I want you to have a great future. See the difference? That's an invitation. It opens a door. It totally transforms a potential fight into a moment of real connection. It's a small change in language that makes a world of difference. So, as we wrap this up, I really want to leave you with this question. This isn't about completely overhauling your entire life tomorrow. It's about one small intentional act. What is the one message, whether it's spoken or unspoken, that you can give your child today to reinforce that you are their safe harbor? Because that single message, it might just be the anchor they need for the rest of their lives.